What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Today, if you have not already put two and two together, we're going to be going over how to read a soil test. So this is how to just make sense of a soil test that you get at home. And in my case, I just went to my local nursery and I said, hey, I want a soil test. And I don't want anything fancy because you can get soil tests that are very extreme and actually quite expensive. And those are going to give you basically every reading you could possibly ever want on your soil. But you don't necessarily need that. So what I got is I got the pH, the ratio of nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, and then some recommendations. And so let's go ahead and run through it right now. So first of all, you can see that the pH is 7.2. Now, that's pretty close to pH neutral, but does that mean it's good or does that mean it's bad? Well, first what we have to do is we have to look at the nutrient availability rate based on the pH rate of the soil. And so what you can see here is as we go up the scale, as we go from a 4 to a 10, nutrients are either more or less available based on that pH rating. And so this, you can see, is why a lot of plants like to be in this slightly acidic range right here. So you can see I'm highlighting it right here. It's this section that I'm drawing the blue marks over right here. So you can see the availability rate is changing based on the pH. So if we're looking at phosphorus right here, we can see that it is slightly more available as we get slightly more acidic, which is maybe why plants prefer slightly acidic soil. Kind of makes sense, right? Of course, you can also see some plants are slightly, or some nutrients are slightly less available. If we follow the chart of iron, we can see that it's going slightly down in the band, which means that it's slightly less available. But again, that's a micronutrient. I'd rather take better phosphorus, nitrogen, and potassium absorption, although potassium does sort of hold steady across the bar here with a flat graph. I'd rather take better macronutrient absorption than trade out for slightly worse iron absorption. And so that's why pH matters. But let's get back to the soil test. So what you can see there is we've got our pH of 7.2, which is slightly high. We could talk about ways to lower that. But then we've got the pounds per acre of each available nutrient. And remember, I only went for phosphorus, potassium, and nitrogen. So what it's saying here is I have 200 plus pounds of phosphorus, and I have 680 pounds of potassium. And then what we're getting to in this display of average results section right here, right in this section, is a bar chart graph. And so for our P, what we're seeing, if we go down here, is we're seeing that this soil testing company believes we're at a surplus because you can see this bar. This is a bar chart. This is just their way of displaying a bar chart. And you can see it believes that we're well into the surplus range. That's not necessarily bad. There's ways to fix that. And then for our potassium, it's saying that we're just at the top of the surplus range. We're just pushing over from high to surplus. And so now we know. Better to know than not know, right? Now we can fix it. Now let's go down to this section. So again, we were testing a raised bed. We were testing for growing vegetable plants because you need to tell a soil test company what you're testing, what you want to grow, because then they're going to make better recommendations. So for vegetable plants, they're heavy feeders for the most part. They're going to need a decent amount of nutrients. And again, this is a garden. Okay, so it's first of all, it's recommending we don't add any lime, and that's probably because we're at an okay pH range. We don't need any. And then it's saying, well, you're going to need 3 to 4 pounds. So it says fertilizer recommendations are given in pounds per 1,000 square feet. So you need 3 to 4 pounds per 1,000 square feet in this bed of nitrogen to get yourself up to the range that your plants are going to thrive in. And so now we know we're a little high on the P and the K, but we're pretty short on the N. And so how do we solve that problem? Well, this is where the soil test is helpful because now I know my exact problem and now I need to figure out how to fix it, right? And so what I've done is I've gone over to a company that I like called Garden Maker Naturals. And you can either make custom mixes here, so you can start from scratch and just add whatever you want. You can get a signature blend, but in this case, I don't want any of that. I just want one ingredient because I only need nitrogen, right? And so what I'm looking for here is a very high, let me maximize this a little bit. I'm looking for a very high N number or first number, and I'm looking for a 0 or very low second and third number, P and K, because I already have enough of those, right? And so first of all, I'm looking at corn gluten. Corn gluten's a 900. It's a speedy release nitrogen punch that knocks down weed germination. And the interesting thing about corn gluten is it works really fast at getting nitrogen bioavailable to a plant. However, it does prevent germination of weed seeds. And you might say, what do you mean, however? That sounds good. It is good, but it also means that your actual plants are going to be struggling to germinate if corn gluten is applied. And so what that means is that you need to then apply corn gluten after your seeds have germinated to give them the best chance of survival, because they're going to die via the compounds within corn gluten if you do that too early. And so you might say, I don't really want to worry about that. I want to try something else. Well, that's fine. All you need to do is look for something else. Cottonseed meal is a 7-2-1, pretty high in the N, not too high in the P and the K. That's what we want, right? Slower release. So if you can handle the fact that it's going to be bioavailable a little bit later than you might want, then maybe that's a good choice. Or maybe you can go distiller's grains. This is a 5-1-0. This is even lower in the P and the K, although it's slightly lower in the N. Distiller's grains are great if you believe in using and reusing things from our waste streams. So brewers are just basically throwing away spent grains. Well, you can throw them away into your garden and you can get some nitrogen out of it as well. And so hopefully this type of thought process shows you how to both get a soil test done, make sense of it, which we've done here in this section right here, and then get your recommendations and then figure out what you need. And so there we have it. I hope this was informative. I hope this was enjoyable. I'll be doing more like whiteboard style videos as well, but I'm going to do a lot out in the garden too. I've got a lot going on in the front yard and in the backyard. I've got a bunch of experiments to go. So definitely like, comment, subscribe. And until next time, good luck in the garden and keep growing. Peace, guys.